On 18th of October 2019, a winning bid was announced for New Delhi's Central Vista project. A plan to reshape Edwin Lutyens' capital complex, the seat of the Government of India. The Central Vista, since the gaining of independence, had come to represent the imagined space of a nation-state. An expanse that symbolized its independence and embodied ownership as the citizen's right. The new project was to add to this sense of national ownership by clearing the clutter of contemporary and past deemed unsightly abutments. And so began another cycle in history's relentless march, redrawing the symbols of passing eras in the imagination of the ones that come to occupy its place. Layer by layer, the panorama transforms as another New Delhi rises, a new New Delhi, to take the place of the old.
One is at Kasturba Gandhi Road, one is at Minto Road, one is at Jodhpur House, and another is at Netaji Nagar.
On 5th of August 2025, Union Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Manohar Lal Khattar announced that offices operating from 4 government bhavans will be temporarily relocated for 2 years to 4 new sites on Kasturba Gandhi Marg, Minto Road and Netaji Palace during the construction period. The very next day, the minister stood beside the Prime Minister as he inaugurated Kartavya Bhavan 3 at Kartavya Path in Delhi. The first of several upcoming common central secretariat buildings designed to streamline administrative processes.
The buildings are no more centrally corridor and rooms on both sides. They have open offices, they have a much better work environment. When you sit in the room, the view inside and outside, it has a central courtyard, the present building which Prime Minister has recently, so both sides when you sit next to window, and sitting next to window looking at a green is always a much emotionally good experiences. And then they ensure that you have all connectivity and modern connections from as required.
Change is a constant, its intent always open to interpretation.
As far as heritage is concerned, the accepted norm is that a building which has architectural, archaeological or cultural, historical importance and is more than 125-year old can be brought under heritage lists, and then those buildings need to be protected. The buildings that are being repurposed, the old secretariat, the north and south block that are being presented as old buildings, or the argument that was put forward to move out of the Sansad Bhavan was that they are old buildings.
Lutyens Delhi was designed as a colonial white town. Its wide, leafy pathways and bright, whitewashed bungalows, ever distant from the metropolis that grew up around it. Ironically, the colonial masters of India inhabited this space for a mere fraction of the years to pass. The bulk of the intervening century taken up by the leaders and administrators of an independent India.
This space was actually set aside by the first master planners of Delhi in 1962, taking away from that colonial impulse which had reserved them for government buildings and designated most of these buildings as public, semi-public land, which is to say they can only be used for purposes which directly benefits the public. Semi-public would mean things like museums and so on, which are not free for entry always, but they are public in nature. So that brilliance of that thought, which said that let's minimize government at the heart of the capital of India.
On 12th of December 1911, at the Grand Darbar in Delhi, to celebrate his coronation, King Emperor George V made his most important announcement. He declared that Calcutta would no longer serve as the capital of the Raj. The nerve center of British colonial power in Asia was to shift to Delhi. The declared intent behind the creation of this new capital was Britain's unfaltering determination to maintain British rule in India. The Delhi of 1911 was a pale shadow of the erstwhile Mughal power and influence. The shifting of the capital raised questions of how the prestige and authority of the British Empire ought most appropriately be represented in stone. Delhi was a backwater, past its heydays. What was needed was a facelift. A new Delhi needed to rise to take the place of the old.
इक्कीसवीं सदी के भारत को 21वीं सदी की आधुनिक व्यवस्थाएं चाहिए, इमारतें भी चाहिए। ऐसी इमारतें जो टेक्नोलॉजी, सुरक्षा और सुविधा के लिहाज से बेहतरीन हो, जहां कर्मचारी सहज हो, फैसले तेज हो और सेवाएं सुगम हो।
The contract for designing the ambitious revamp of New Delhi's Central Vista, or the seat of power in the national capital Delhi, was awarded to HCP Design Planning and Management Private Limited, an architectural firm led by Bimal Patel. The Ahmedabad-based Bimal Hasmukh Patel is considered a pioneering architect. His list of achievements include designing the Kashi Vishwanath corridor and the Sabarmati riverfront project. In 2011, HCP Design Planning and Management had also designed the new office space Swarnim Sankul for the then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi and his cabinet of ministers. A dozen years later, Narendra Modi, now as Prime Minister, unveiled the first major building of the new Central Vista, designed and executed by the same architect.
साथियों, ये सिर्फ एक भवन नहीं है, ये 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों की आकांक्षाओं और सपनों का प्रतिबिंब है। ये विश्व को भारत के दृढ़ संकल्प का संदेश देता हमारे लोकतंत्र का मंदिर है।
This was the first building that rose as part of the determination to build a new New Delhi. The triangular-shaped new Parliament building is in many ways distant from its next-door neighbour and its circular predecessor.
Very significant events in our history have happened there, that Parliament has seen great minds speak. A constitution has been written within that building. Very many other such events have happened in that building or many buildings surrounding it. Each one of them is significant in its own way, and it is a part of modern Indian history since independence.
The designers of Central Vista redevelopment explained the shape as having primarily been influenced by the triangular plot of land that was available. But additionally, it also represented the symbolism of three, embodied in the significance of triangles across sacred geometries of ancient Indian cultures. The new Parliament, like the old, catered to the presence of three main spaces within the building: Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and a central lounge.
When does a building become old? The Parliament was inaugurated in 1927. Okay? How old is the British Parliament? Do you have any idea? The building? The building, 1,000-year-old. It's a 10th century old building. The American Parliament, the French Parliament. The parliaments that you build are, and they become part of they are an institution. You just don't jettison them and go into another building.
Nineteen opposition parties led by the Indian National Congress announced their collective decision to boycott the inauguration ceremony of the new parliament. They criticized the government for not asking the head of state, President Draupadi Murmu, to open the new building. They also denounced the decision to hold the event on the birth anniversary of Hindu nationalist ideologue V.D. Savarkar.
We, Congress party, discussed with all other like-minded political parties. I am very happy to say that, including TMC, Aam Aadmi Party, all are, including BRS also. They are all in agreement with these sentiments, boycotting the inaugural function.
देश की आर्थिक स्थिति खराब है, फिर भी लाखों करोड़ों रुपया, सैकड़ों करोड़ रुपया खर्चा करके जिस तरह से प्रोजेक्ट को सिर्फ प्रधानमंत्री की इच्छा के लिए बनाया, क्या उसकी जरूरत थी?
The BJP said the opposition's boycott was a disrespect to democracy.
ये नया भवन हमारे स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों के सपनों को साकार करने का माध्यम बनेगा। ये नया भवन आत्मनिर्भर भारत के सूर्योदय का साक्षी बनेगा। ये नया भवन विकसित भारत के संकल्पों की सिद्धि होते हुए देखेगा।
The critics of the Central Vista redevelopment project questioned other features of the redesign initiative.
When we are building blocks of buildings, massive buildings, 2 basements deep, what are we doing but creating underwater dams? Even when they renovated the Rajpath lawns and they built these underpasses for pedestrians to use, and it may be fanciful to say so, but even you go back into the statistics, there have never been floods in that central portion of Delhi. It is after the project came up that we began to see floods in that portion of Delhi as well, which should otherwise be extremely well drained towards the Yamuna.
To many, the high cost, running into tens of thousands of crores of rupees in escalating costs, was a drawback. Well-known architects and urbanists wrote op-eds in newspapers and magazines. They appeared on online portals and news channels articulating their concerns. International celebrities like Anish Kapoor argued that it represented an assault on Indian democracy, a demolition of its modern secular ideals, and the building of a new India with a non-democratic sectarian identity.
Over thousands of years, we developed a technique of building structures with thick walls, high ceilings, so that the buildings inside remain cool in the summers and warm during winter. Now what we have built is glass, and glass is terribly environment unfriendly. You will need to air condition all these buildings. They are only going to add to the heating up of this entire area. So this kind of architecture, how does that lead to a modern India?
Large percentage of building is being built after demolishing earlier building and rebuilding. Yes, there may be some areas where green spaces have been taken, but when you demolish earlier building and rebuild, you ensure that you leave more green than those buildings had, the one which is demolished. So that part was taken care by the architect who designed these buildings. It has more setback from Kartavya Path than the earlier buildings. It has more greenery towards Kartavya Path than the earlier buildings. It had a central courtyard which is also green. And so the greenery part has been taken care, yes.
When the British decided to move the centre of power to Delhi, the task to design the new capital city was entrusted to 2 architects, Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker. The key buildings to be built were intended to be arranged along an east-west urban axis nestled within a vast landscaped green, vistas, water channels and tree-lined avenues. This central core of a grand architectural ensemble set amidst a carefully designed landscape and avenues was referred to as the Central Vista. The project brief stated that this new site must be in close physical and general association with the present city of Delhi and the Delhis of the past. It went on to state that a well-planned city should stand complete at its birth and yet have the power of receiving additions without losing its character.
ये केवल कुछ नए भवन और सामान्य इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है। अमृत काल में इन्हीं भवनों में विकसित भारत की नीतियां बनेगी, विकसित भारत के लिए महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय होंगे। आने वाले दशकों में यहीं से राष्ट्र की दिशा तय होगी।
Change comes at a price. Change comes with interpretations. Along the central vista, a new sense of nationhood rises, challenging the strictures of the recent past. This sense is itself challenged by an India that is and was unified by its pluralistic syncretic hues. On the one hand, government literature states that in the shadow of history, dreams of tomorrow abound, as a bold new chapter is crafted in the heart of New Delhi. The view from the other side of the vista states that this redevelopment is about a reinventing of the state, of secularism, of history, and of democracy. All of it made physical and visible in buildings that rise to obliterate the past.